when I was in London, I was lucky enough to interview Jesse Leach about his views about mental health and depression, as he himself has been fighting a battle with depression for most of his life. I'm very grateful that I had this interview with him. He was very open and honest, and he is a true fighter. So I hope you enjoy this, and you must listen to what he says, because he has some really good advice for everyone that suffers with depression. And it goes to show that it's anyone can suffer with depression, whether they're in a band, whether they're, you know, just a normal person. And you should never be afraid to speak out if you have depression. We've got to start talking about it. And when we do start talking about it, people will accept it, and it would no longer be a stigma. Okay, thank you. Enjoy watching. Bye. So, how long do you reckon you've suffered with depression for?
I think most of my life. It's hard to sort of put a finger on when. Emotional issues as a kid, a very emotional, sensitive person. But I think as I got on older, I started to recognize the signs of it, you know. And thankfully for me, it hasn't been as severe in these past few years. But there are definitely moments, you know, that are worse than others. So pretty much my whole life. Were
you ever diagnosed by...
No, I've never really... I mean, I've had therapy, but I've never really gotten diagnosed. I never went down that road.
Yeah. Was there ever a time where you thought that you couldn't go on?
Yes.
Was that... sorry to be so in depth, but was that hard on you as well as your family and friends?
I didn't really let my family into that. It was sort of my own issue, and thankfully through writing lyrics and keeping a journal and just sort of, and through music, you know, I was able to sort of pull myself out of it. And, you know, it's funny, I don't even think I realized it while it was happening until after the fact. I look back on it and I realized how bad it was.
Yeah.
I think that's how it is when you sort of hit rock bottom, or when you're in the moment, you may not realize how bad it was. But I definitely wanted to die.
Yeah. Your wife, was she supportive and understanding?
Yeah, I mean, initially, yeah. It's again, it's not something that's very vocal about when it first sort of happened, and I've struggled with it in my teenage years too as well. But music has been my sort of go-to for everything. Putting on my headphones, going for a long walk, that's been my therapy, music. And then thankfully family, once they found out, you know, I was in a rough spot, definitely came to my aid.
Yeah.
It's always good to talk to people. That's the thing, is the one thing for me, I have to remind myself, and for you listening, you got to talk to somebody, you have to. You know, you're not going to get anything solved on your own, you really need other people's help.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you were with Killswitch a couple of years, 10 years ago. Jesus Christ.
More than that, it's even longer than that.
Yeah, it makes me feel really old, because I saw you playing years ago. Yeah. So you've overcome your dark cloud just about, and you've rejoined. Is that something that you... did it help you rejoining?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, as far as the dark cloud goes, it's always there somewhere. It's just a matter of recognizing it and actively doing certain things that help me stay in a positive state of mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, being on the road and being in a band is a lot of fun, but you have your dark moments too when you feel lonely. You know, being in your bunk at night and just sit there with your thoughts, being far away from home sometimes. You know, there's darkness everywhere. It's just a matter of exercising those demons, if you want to call it that. And sort of keeping yourself in a positive light.
Definitely. Do you think,
talking about it? Yeah,
definitely. Do you think there's enough help out there for people? I mean, mental health and self-harm and depression seems to be stigmatized.
Yeah.
Do you think it should be something that people should talk about or hide? I know you've spoken about this before, but...
I think talk about it, but not everyone's comfortable being sort of honest about it. But I think the more that people see, that people like myself, people who are sort of in the limelight, talk about it, it sort of makes it a little more okay for people to talk about. Because that is the only way you're going to get through it. You know, people can take meds and all that, but I mean, honestly, at the bottom of all of that, unless it's truly a chemical imbalance, at the the bottom of all that, talking through your problems is the only way you're going to see them through.
Yeah, I mean, my page is basically, it's me sacrificing myself and me showing the self-harm and saying what's wrong with me and doing this to make people realise that they're not the only people out there. Do you think maybe actually showing people that there's more people out there than you think that are suffering with depression is a good thing?
Absolutely, absolutely. Strength in numbers, you know, like when you go to therapy sessions, you know, group therapy, for example, and you see other people who are similar to you. You can even take it as far as music, you know, as a kid, and I was into punk and hardcore, and, you know, I got called a freak, and I got called this, I got called that, but I realized there were other people like me, and then you stop caring so much about being called a freak or being an outcast, because you sort of band together with people who are like you. So I think, that being said, with you know, depression or self-harm, like, find out who's there and talk to them and sort of help each other. That's another kind of therapy. And that being said too, I think, you know, people who do go seek help, don't just go with the first person that your first therapist. I think finding who is the right therapist for you is really important as well. Because therapists can either help you or they can do harm.
Yeah,
you got to be careful with that. So.
Yeah, especially with medication, I found personally that they can give you medication and then they take it off you, and then, you know, you're all up and down. Yeah,
it's tricky, but it's trial and error. But again, I can't say it enough.
Yeah,
communication, talking about it is so important.
The biggest thing is I know that there's a lot of fans out there who obviously suffer with depression and self-harm, but there's also people that don't quite know of you and your music and stuff. What would your advice be to everyone out there that's got depression, self-harm, mental health, apart from talking, if there is anything?
Well, for me personally, I believe in God. I have a higher power, and that has been huge for me. And whether or not, you know, you want to get into the whole details of religion or whatever, just the thought that there's something else out there that's stronger than all of us, that has more love that we're all capable of. And they even teach that in, like, Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, that higher power. I think it's really important to look outside yourself. That spiritual realm, that's been huge for me in my life, not just with depression, with anything. Yeah, I mean, I find yoga, meditation, stuff like that is all extremely helpful. Wonderful. Yoga is great. Exercise, that's another thing to say. Wow, I'm glad I said that, because I ride my bike a lot when I'm home. I'll do long, like 15, 20-mile trails. And the physical act of that actually produces positive stuff in your body. Good endorphins. Endorphins, yeah. I've just started hitting the gym. Yeah. And I found out it's, like, really helped. And that was maybe 3 years ago I started that, and it changed my life. And now, I mean, there'll be times when I'm on a bike ride and I'll just, like, tears are coming down my face because I actually feel really good. Yeah. So I'm glad we hit positive endorphins. Yeah. Do some exercise. Go for a run. Go for a swim. Like, and that's the thing about that. It's like you got to do something you like. You know, I could never just go to a gym and sort of pump iron or get on a treadmill. Like, that's not me. It doesn't bring joy to me. But riding my bike has been great. So try it. Put headphones on. Get a good mix. Yeah, definitely. It's awesome. That's what I do at gym. Just pound some Ramstein on. That's good. There you go. Yeah. Get a punching bag. Get all your aggression out on a punching bag. There you go. Yeah, exactly. That's great. So, you know, it's really good and positive to talk to someone that's been in you're doing really well for yourself, and you've gathered yourself back together and you've got back into the scene. I mean, I used to interview bands regularly, and then I became really depressed, and I couldn't go out, I couldn't face people, I couldn't face anything, and people found that very, like, ooh, why is she doing that? Well, you know, how dare she do this to me? Why dare she leave a band? Why dare she stop doing this? But I've recently, after doing this page and thinking, you know what, fuck it. I'm not the only one out there that has this problem, and I think the more people I speak to, up in a higher place, as it were, that suffer, I think getting the awareness out there is the best thing. And it gives people hope too, you know. I think, I relate it back to music because that's all I've really had has been my therapy. Just even hearing lyrics of people who have suffered. And, making them sort of my anthems, you know, and latching on to certain things that musicians say. Yeah, I mean, I write a lot of poetry and a lot of lyrics, and I find that very kind
kind of caphonic in a way.
Yeah.
It's very, you know, you get it out there, it's gone now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, as a musician yourself, I can imagine being on stage is quite caphonic, you know.
It's amazing. It is. And then, like, you know, being on tour is sort of a high. And when you get off tour, I definitely go through, almost after every tour, I go through a battle, a little bit of a battle where, you know, I'm so used to having that feeling.
Yeah.
And when it's gone, it's even worse. It hits harder. So
Yeah.
the first 3 or 4 days when I'm off the tour, it's tough. But it's just a matter of, like, you know, riding my bike or just finding things that bring me joy and keeping them in my life on a constant to keep myself above the water.
Yeah, it's kind of like post-festival blues.
Yeah. Exactly.
You spend 3 days a week just with your friends getting drunk or whatever, and forgetting life. You know, you're.
Yeah. But it never goes away.
It never does go away.
You know, you can get drunk all you want, but it's problem stays. That's why, like, for me, you know, therapy is vocalizing and talking it through and not running from it.
Yeah, and I think
that's hard to do for some people.
It is, and I think one of the most important things maybe is don't go to drugs or alcohol for kind of self-medicate. Don't self-medicate. If you're going to drink, do it around people that you love and do it in moderation.
Moderation, yeah, that's key.
Yeah, definitely. Right, okay, I think I can end it there.
Awesome.
But you've given me a lot.
Good.
A lot, and it's been extremely helpful.
Awesome.
So everyone, Jesse Leach, Killswitch engaged.
Cheers.